What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Lucid. So it is down 4.73%. I want to break it down, what's really happening, go over some of the data points and everything else that you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So like I mentioned, down 4.73%. It just had a crazy sell-off right here. And in my opinion, that is attributed more so to shorts rather than our institutions. Institutions are still not really seeing all that much happen. Two transactions above $100,000 being done, both of which were sells. One was done at 8:30, another one was done roughly about 15 minutes ago. So not the best. So institutions are still often enough overlooking Lucid. So there was those two conferences that did happen. I guess coming from an investor standpoint, technology is sound, gravity is looking fairly good to be on target and everything. One negative, to play devil's advocate, that I guess I didn't really bring up in my videos yesterday, was capital. And this question was actually brought up in both of the conferences, and that is Lucid diluting. So I think that might be where shorts as well as institutions might be selling based off of, because if you know that a company is going to excessively dilute, why hold it? That's at least coming from an institutional standpoint, and that's not even counting broader fears such as PPI, interest rates, and whatever else that has kind of been the hot topics today. So in reality, that might be one reason why institutions are overlooking. I saw some people on social media asking just the general question, what is with Lucid? Like, we have amazing technology. Why aren't institutions lining up to buy? So that could be one thing. And then aside from that, because of that recent funding of those notes, or I guess the preferred shares, like I've said, I've done a lot of dedicated videos all about that. That is very, and underline very, damaging to the stock. So the lower the price of Lucid as it goes, the more shares are issued. So it kind of compounds so much more. So you do have just general dilution that is happening that probably institutions are selling. And then maybe as the price goes down, knowing those preferred shares are just going to completely decimate so much more dilution. So I think that's one thing that, again, institutions are really focusing on. Today, like I kind of just vaguely mentioned, PPI is one of the biggest attributing factors why the broader market is pulling back. So it's not the best kind of chain of events that is happening for Lucid. Even though there's been no news, no SEC filings, nothing like that, you would have anticipated like there'd be news that Lucid murdered someone or something like that, because for it to be down 4.54% is kind of crazy if you ask me. So let me know your thoughts on that. Shorts though today are increasing 2.18 million shares so far. 28.6% of the free float is being shorted. That works out to be 253.24 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow average is 25.23%, and then utilization is 96.19%. So very high stuff. Like I've done videos on over the last little bit, like it was very clear that shorts were going to be starting to re-enter into Lucid. So they did have that momentary drop. So from its peak was roughly around 32%, which is crazy if you ask me, but it did have a low of 27. So they are starting to re-enter just based off of broader fears. So yeah, I think it's a very crappy scenario. There hasn't been any recent analyst ratings, so I'll give you a quick overview of that. So right here, I do have the Elliott wave technical, so I'll bring this up first. So it does have a pivot point of 303. So for as long as Lucid is below that, then it is forecasted to kind of hit the high ones / low twos. Once I go over the technicals, it'll kind of say a similar kind of picture. But just to give you a good overview, there hasn't been any recent analyst ratings. The last one was done 28 days ago by RBC Tom, who does have a 53% success rating. And just to give you an overview while I'm here, I don't believe there's been any change to the Morningstar report, so it still does show the fair market value for Lucid being $4.39. On a side note, if you are wanting all of this information to be completely free, click on the link in the description below and also the comments. Again, this definitely is very, has a lot of good information that people can kind of benefit from. Just again, you guys do whatever floats your boat. Moving on to options. So looking right now, 257,000 in calls, 747 in puts. So dollar value wise, very low in comparison to the last several weeks. But 65% of all the options being done today are optimistic and bullish, but you also have to factor in at the same time that a lot of shorts are hedging with call options. So again, that's kind of one thing that is going to be really affecting Lucid. And even with it right now at $2.54 or 53 cents, you're going to see a push down below 250, because currently right now there is at that 250 strike price, 864 in open interest, 11,000 at that 3. Even going into next week, you do see roughly around 15,000 in open interest at that 250 strike price. So market makers do not want Lucid to be above these strike prices, so you're going to see it somewhat artificially pushed down below 250. So again, something to kind of keep in mind. Hopefully institutions start to warm up to Lucid, and I think that maybe might have to do with Peter himself actually doing something. And I get it, Peter nowadays compared to like Peter a year ago, night and day difference. He's doing a lot more events, but I feel like at this stage in the game, he keeps reiterating, even said during the conferences, during the shareholder meeting, that he hasn't sold a single share, but it'd be really nice for him to physically buy some stock, because that's something that he's never actually done, used a penny of his own money. I myself have put in more money into Lucid than he has. He has a lot more overall because he's been gifted and awarded shares, but I've actually used more of my own money than he has. So I think that should never be the scenario when it comes down to any CEO. So I think Peter keeps reiterating that he hasn't sold any shares, with exception for tax purposes, but I think he maybe could do something more to kind of change the sentiment. So that's just my viewpoint. Moving on though, right now with it at, actually this is SoFi. So right now with it at $2.53, it is trading between these 2 points right here. So this S2 and this S1. So $2.56 is going to be that next strong resistance / target. And then $2.36 is going to be that next strong support. So you're seeing more of a further breakdown based off of the technicals. And like I said, based on the Elliott wave, they are kind of pointing to kind of the low 2s / high 1s, and so we're kind of there. So if this 236 does fail to hold, then yeah, the Elliott wave technicals are going to come to fruition. $2.29 is that all-time low for Lucid, so again, just something to keep in mind. On the actual chart itself, so it did transition from the higher to the lower percentile of the Bollinger Band recently. It is also staying below that 50-day moving average. Stochastic, you do see it very oversold, as well as a very big bearish deviation, so red line above the white. Number of retail investors, so this is probably the only optimistic thing out of all the data today, but retail is buying. So take that with a grain of salt. That might be positive, might be negative. You guys do whatever floats your boat. So give yourself a shout out if you did buy today, if you sold, what did you do? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And one final thing, don't forget to take advantage of this promo. So even though Lucid goes up, down, sideways, very volatile, take advantage of this promo. Simply sign up for a new account, throw $100 at it, and they give you 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000. Kick-ass deal. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.